Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take, huge piles of research and boil them down into something you can actually use. And if you're a learner, maybe just dipping your toes into prompt engineering, figuring out how to talk to tools like ChatGPT or Google Gemini to get better results, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. Today, our mission isn't just about the basics. No, we're jumping straight into a technique that can unlock some really dynamic, adaptable AI conversations, even if you're new to this. We're going to unpack something called the role handover technique. Think of it as the key to going beyond simple questions and answers, moving into more complex chats, maybe with multiple characters, all in one go.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is that in this whole world of generative AI, these large language models or LLMs, adaptability is just crucial. It's the ultimate currency. Like, if you're asking the AI to do something big and complicated, say, write a technical manual that needs both creative drafting and really picky editing, just telling it to be an expert isn't enough. So this ability to switch between different roles, different functions, the role handover, it's actually a pretty significant step up, sophistication-wise.
Okay, let's really get into that then, unpack it. When we say role handover, it sounds, well, a bit technical maybe. For someone listening who's new to this, what's the AI actually doing? Can you give us a precise definition?
Absolutely. So, put simply, the role handover technique is it's a specific way of prompting. You instruct the AI to take on an initial role, do something in that role, and then switch to another one. Often it's quite a different, maybe even contrasting role, but crucially, it happens smoothly right there in the same conversation. You're not starting over. The AI keeps the thread, keeps the continuity of the discussion, even while it's fundamentally changing its perspective or its job.
Okay.
And the outcome is, well, it's pretty profound, actually.
Yeah.
This lets the LLM handle complex, multi-layered kinds of interactions. It embodies different personas, different contexts, without dropping the ball in the conversation. It's more than just acting like an expert. It's almost simulating interactions between different kinds of experts.
Right, that does sound incredibly powerful straight away. I need a way to picture this, though, to really lock it down in my head. How should we visualize this switch, this pivot happening?
Okay, imagine the AI is like a really skilled improv actor on stage.
Right.
One moment, it's playing this strict, very knowledgeable mentor figure, maybe explaining something complicated like, I don't know, quantum entanglement, really laying it out step by step. Then, the next moment, because you prompted it to poof, it instantly shifts. Now it's a curious student, maybe a little confused, asking really sharp, reflective questions about the very concept it just explained.
Ah, okay.
That pivot, that seamless change of character, of context, that's the heart of the role handover.
That's a fantastic visualization. But it does bring up a question for me, technically speaking. If it's switching roles like that, how does it not just forget what the first role is doing or lose the context?
Ah, that's a great question. That's where the power of the context window really comes into play. You
Yeah.
see, LLMs have this sort of working memory, right? We call it the context window. By doing the role handover within one continuous prompt thread, you're basically ensuring all those roles, the professor, the student, the editor, whoever, they all stay within the AI's immediate memory.
Okay, so it's all still there.
Exactly. The AI isn't deleting its instructions and starting fresh. It's more like it's just changing the filter it's using for the output.
Right.
Based on the new role you gave it. And that's why the switch can feel so fluid.
Got it. That makes a lot more sense now, knowing why it works. Okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks then. Where does this technique really, really shine? If I'm sitting here with ChatGPT or Gemini open, what are those concrete situations where using role handover gives me a, serious advantage? Give us those aha moments.
Right. Well, it's particularly effective, we found, in pretty much any scenario that needs some kind of internal critique or iteration, or even just simulating it back and forth. We zeroed in on three main application areas that seem especially helpful for learners starting out. First off, think about collaborative writing. Instead of the usual, generate a draft, then try to get the AI to edit it in a separate step.
Right, which can be clunky.
Exactly. Here, you instruct the AI to alternate. Role 1. Be the creative author, generate the text based on my outline. Then role 2. Be a really stringent editor. Refine that text, point out logical flaws, style issues, maybe even factual weaknesses.
Wait, hang on. I can immediately see how that would massively speed things up, that instant feedback loop.
Precisely.
That's powerful. You're not waiting around. But what's the biggest risk? Could it get, confused between the roles? Or maybe the editor just reflects the author's biases?
That's a really vital point. And yeah, the risk of subjectivity is real. You mitigate that by being super clear about the editor role's objectives. For instance, telling it, act like an academic peer reviewer. Focus only on verifiable facts and logical consistency.
Okay, be specific.
Very specific. The real power comes from the immediacy. You're essentially forcing the AI to audit its own work right then and there, which is honestly a fantastic way to quickly improve the quality and keep things focused.
Okay, application 1, collaborative writing. What's next?
Second is dynamic storytelling. And this goes way beyond just, write me a story. You can have the AI seamlessly play multiple characters. Maybe you've got a hero who's always jumping into action, a really cynical sidekick who's like, hang on a minute, and maybe a neutral narrator moving the plot.
Oh, interesting.
The interactions you get feel much richer, more unpredictable than when the AI is just writing everything from one single viewpoint.
I like that. Okay, and the third one?
And finally, this one's really excellent, I think, especially for beginners looking to learn something new. Interactive learning. You use the technique to make the AI act as both the teacher, explaining a tricky concept, say the basics of supply chain management, and then it switches roles. Now it's the student who have to try and answer questions about it, or maybe even better.
Explain it back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Explain the concept back to the teacher persona.
Oh, that self-testing idea is brilliant. It's not just memorization then. It forces you to actually synthesize it, right?
Spot on.
If you can explain it back to the teacher, you probably actually understand it.
Precisely. So what? Of all this, the bottom line is that Role Handover lets you simulate conversations that feel much more natural, more flexible, more immersive than the standard ask a question, get an answer model we tend to fall into. You're basically creating a little project team right there in the chat window.
Okay, I'm sold on the power and the why. That brings us squarely to the mechanics. How do we actually write this prompt? If I open up my favorite LLM right now, what's the actual blueprint? How do I structure a role handover prompt so it works?
Yeah, the formatting is absolutely critical here because the AI is hanging on your every word. Essentially, the clarity of your instructions is everything. We generally recommend a pretty straightforward, logical, three-step structure. This really helps cut down confusion and makes it more effective. Step 1, establish the initial role. This is where you set the stage. Be really clear. Instruct the AI. You are X, or act as Y. For instance, you are a seasoned history professor specializing in 20th century cultural shifts. Nice and specific.
Okay, define role 1. Got it.
Step 2, transition role. This is the trigger, the pivot point. You have to tell the AI when and how it should switch to the next role. And be explicit. Something like, after you complete your explanation, you will switch roles too.
So make the handoff crystal clear.
Crystal clear. And step 3, define objectives for each role. This is crucial for keeping things on track. You need to clearly outline the goals or the tasks for both the first role and the second role. Otherwise, the second role might just sort of drift. Maintain that focus.
Right. So initial role, clear transition, objectives for both. Okay, can you give us an example? Putting all 3 steps together into one command, what does that look like?
Yeah, there's a great example from the source material we looked at that shows the flow really well. You'd prompt the AI something like this. Start as a historian explaining the technological and political significance of the moon landing. That's role 1 and its objective. Then switch to a curious, skeptical journalist asking follow-up questions exclusively about the cultural and ethical impact of the event. That's the transition cue, role 2, and its specific objective.
Okay.
And that single prompt sets everything up. The AI does the historian part, hits that transition trigger you said, and immediately adopts the journalist persona and task.
That is incredibly clear. It lays it all out.
Right.
But okay, as we start making these prompts more complex, layering these roles, we're still dealing with LLMs, right? Before we even talk about best practices for making the flow work, we have to touch on the fact that these complex prompts, they still carry that risk of, well, making stuff up, hallucinations.
Yes, absolutely. And that is like the responsible core of good prompt engineering, isn't it? It's a crucial reminder, and it needs to be front and center. These tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're amazing, they're sophisticated, but they can, and let's be honest, they often do give outputs that are incorrect, maybe fabricated, sometimes just plain inaccurate.
Right.
And as your prompts get more complex, asking for multiple roles, multiple perspectives, the chance that the AI might misinterpret something or just invent data to fill a gap it doesn't know, that possibility goes up.
So the big takeaway there is complex instructions demand really strict human oversight. We can't just blindly trust the author role or the historian role without checking it.
Precisely. Verification is non-negotiable. Okay, so with that critical caveat in mind, let's talk about making the flow itself work smoothly. To make sure the handoff actually executes well, a few best practices really help. First, as we said, always set clear transitions. Use those explicit instructions. Don't be vague about when the switch happens.
Okay. And when the AI finishes role one's output and we want it to pick up with role two without, adding a bunch of filler or starting over, is there a key phrase?
Yes, there is. To maintain continuity, to signal, keep this conversation going, but now follow the next instruction set for the new role, the specific phrase, continue conversation, works really well.
Continue conversation.
Got it. It just tells the AI, okay, next phase, using the instructions for role 2 now. And finally, don't hold back. We really encourage you to test multi-role scenarios. Go beyond just 2 roles. Experiment. Try scenarios with 3 or even more roles, maybe an author, then an editor, then, I don't know, a marketing consultant critiquing the editor's changes.
Oh, interesting.
That's how you really start to explore the full potential of this technique for creating stuff that's not just generated, but actually well-rounded and vetted from different angles.
Exploring the full potential. I like that.
So, yeah, to sort of wrap things up here,
Yeah.
the role handover technique, fundamentally, it just brings this incredible versatility and dynamic depth to your AI interactions. By letting the LLM adopt and switch between these distinct roles smoothly, you're really transforming that static text box into something much more powerful, a multifaceted partner for creativity, for analysis.
And that transformation, it's right there for the taking. If you're just getting your sea legs with prompt engineering, this technique genuinely opens doors. It leads to richer, more dynamic experiences almost immediately. Whether you use it for writing help, like we discussed, or for that interactive learning piece. Seriously, you should try the role handover technique today. Open up ChatGPT, open up Gemini, and give it a whirl.
Absolutely. And, since we just talked about that crucial need for verification, let me leave you with maybe a final provocative thought to chew on.
Uh-huh.
If we can prompt an AI to be both an author and an editor, could the future of prompt engineering involve adding, say, a 4th role? A mandatory internal verification persona whose only job, its sole objective, is to fact-check the output of the other roles before the AI even shows it to you.
Prompting the AI to police itself, that is a fascinating idea, a built-in fact-checker. Look, the tools are incredible, no doubt, but they absolutely require skilled human guidance and, as you said, verification above all else. So keep experimenting with role handover. Keep exploring different ways to prompt effectively. That's how you'll get the absolute best and, crucially, the most trustworthy results from generative AI and LLMs. Thanks for diving deep with us today.